Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Casual Fanatic. Today's episode, I'm going to be going over probably one of the hardest videos I've made up to now. Don't tell me about trying to tactically analyze the team. Don't tell me about trying to go over the stats and trying to understand the narrative and the storylines and all the little defensive nuances and all the attacking inputs of a game. This was so difficult to make. The top 10 centre backs in the Premier League. So first, I had to decide, do I want to talk about top 10 centre backs in the league right now on form? Because then it distorts the list a little bit, and then it was something that, hey, in a month's time, 2 months' time, in a season's time, this list changes. And then, yeah, maybe that allows me to keep making the videos and whatever, but I want to find a more definitive type of way to objectively talk about these centre backs. And my idea was to say, who are the top 10 centre backs, factoring things like future potential, factoring in past performances, factoring in form, and most importantly, on their day, right now, who do I want in my defense? So, first of all, I have a list of 20 players. For that 10th position, there was 11 players I was fighting for. 10th and 9th, really, I was kind of arguing. The top 8, I'm kind of happy with. I think I know my order and I'm happy with it. But in terms of the last few places. So in terms of honorable mentions, Tarkovsky. I think he's a great centre back, leads the league in blocks, aerial clearances. I think he's going to be elite and great under Sean Dyche. He's a great centre back, but there's a reason why his move was to Everton and not to Newcastle's project, for example. That's where someone else on this list comes into play. Akanji. He has the highest percentage completion on passes in the league. He's been a great debutant for another person on the list at City. He's effectively been able to move into the system, but I still think he lacks a lot defensively in terms of awareness, in terms of understanding the game, the confidence, and really the one-on-one ability. Marc Guéhi, I think he's been a great leader for Crystal Palace. He has a lot of good attributes. He's defensively solid. He's athletic. He's good in the air. He has some pace behind him. Still don't love him on the ball. Still think there's a defensive error in him. I also think that sometimes he shies away from a few things in that sense. And also there is a little bit of lack of size. And sometimes he feels like he's hiding away from the game. His defensive partner, Joachim Andersen, I think is a great centre-back as well. But I watched him in the World Cup. I watched him tail off a little bit as well with the Crystal Palace right now. And he's just not performing at a level that I could justify him being in the top 10 list. I think he has a characteristic, an attribute in terms of his long passing that's second to none in this entire list. Maybe one guy that is the elite and the standard of everything. But he's also extremely slow, he has no agility. That really hurts him, especially in the way that the Premier League is now, and especially the way football's moving into transitions and directness. I think he's going to struggle a lot, and I don't think I can justify him being in this list. He is young, he could still improve, but that pace is always going to be a problem. Ben Mee, been a great centre-back for years in the Premier League, offered so much, blocks everything. He's been one of the key signings of the season in general, other than the big names. He's been great for Brentford. And I think he's been a solid centre-back for years, and I do love him. Don't think he has as much overall, and he does lack a little bit of pace, does lack a little bit of size to be able to say that he's the best centre-back in the league, as well as the ball-playing lack thereof. Fabian Schär hasn't been great over the last few years, but this year has really been immense for Newcastle. Offered a little bit of quality on the ball, has a little bit of an attacking output. He wants to take the free kicks, he wants to take his shots, but he's missed a lot of big chances, actually, surprisingly. I think he's missed 5 big chances this season, which is the most out of centre-backs. And he does lack a little bit of pace sometimes, can be found wanting, can make defensive errors, and a little bit of lack of scanning there as well. There's Lewis Dunk. Lewis Dunk's been a great captain and leader for Brighton. There are fallacies and mistakes in his game, but he is a great passer of the ball. He's been able to be influential in the build-up. He hasn't been found lacking with the style of play that Brighton want to play. Wouldn't classify him as a top 10 centre-back, but he's definitely in there with a shout, getting closer. Now, there are some surprises coming up with the next 3 because they are the bigger names. For me, Gabriel isn't a top 10 centre-back. He just can't be. I think there's too many things that are wrong in his game. There are a lot of, let's say, a good foundation to be able to build a centre-back from there in terms of the size, the strength, the aggression, the tackling ability. It's there, but there's still a few parts of his game that he needs to work on, nurture, and he's been made to look good by the players around him and the team that he's in. I don't think Arsenal miss him as much when he's not there. Yes, he adds a little bit of character and fight that they don't have otherwise, but I don't think he contributes as much as they need him to. I think they could be improved in that position. Joel Matip. Joel Matip has been a great centre-back, underrated centre-back for years in the Premier League, and I think it's criminal how people haven't talked about him, but yes, he's been overshadowed by his centre-back partner, but this year he's really dropped off. He's been exposed time and time again. And yes, I was saying that this isn't just a current form kind of list, but I don't see a turning point for him now going forward. He's getting to the point where this is going to be where it's at, and Liverpool having to rebuild, I don't think this is going to be the guy that they choose to keep. So when you do a rebuild, it's not like you clean slate everyone, but there are certain players you have to choose to keep, certain players you have to get rid of. I think he might be one of the people on the chopping block. Yes, it's sad that he hasn't gotten the credit or the kudos that he's deserved over the few years, but he's definitely someone that I think it's time for him to move on, and therefore I don't want to include him in the top 10 list. And then the surprise one, at least for me, this is between two teammates for the 10th spot. It's between John Stones and Laporte. Aymeric Laporte, who is the 10th best centre-back in the league? That was the debate there. I broke them into small little jewels in each section of the list. And for number 10, I decided to go with John Stones. I think he's more consistent. I think the fact that he doesn't get injured as often, I think is important. The fact that he's always there, I think the fact that he's more versatile, he can play as a fullback, he can play in different parts of the defense as well. They're both great ball players. Maybe Laporte is slightly better as a ball player, but John Stones has more pace around him. He's a little bit taller. He's always available. He has a good understanding and reading of the game. It's difficult to decide between the two because they both have a lot of good qualities, but I just think John Stones as an overall centre-back has more to his game, and therefore I went with John Stones at 10th. Number 9, he's kind of in a category of his own where I had to put someone from this team because they're the best defense, best clean sheets. You have to include a centre-back from that team. Yes, it's other parts of the game that's contributing to that defensive record, but this guy's been immense, and I think he will keep moving up this list. I really do think so. I think he's been a fantastic signing and shows the system that they have in place for making signings. I think number 9, Sven Botman. It's a great signing for Newcastle. He's been a leader, he's a rock, he's great aerially, he wins his duels, he's solid on the ball. He looks like he's a real character and leader that they can have in that team building forward. And I think that's exactly the kind of centre-back you want to build off of. And you're pairing him with the right partner, pairing him with the right player to play alongside him. I think this is going to be the Newcastle centre-back for this project. For this project, that's the centre-back you want. I think that's a testament to how good he's able to come in and make an immediate impact in a new league. He deserves credit for that. Maybe there is a little bit of lack of pace, and sometimes you do see a little bit of lack of awareness sometimes, but those things will come with the pace and adaptation to how fast the Premier League moves. So for me, number 9 is Sven Botman. Number 8 also kind of just misses out on that next bracket of centre-backs, because the next bracket I have 3 centre-backs that are, well, more like 2 that are in and around each other, but number 8 is Christian Romero. Yes, he does make mistakes. Yes, sometimes he looks exposed, but I think he's a great tackler, great at anticipating the ball, really aggressive. Underrated part of his game is also his ball playing ability, and I think he's showed it for Argentina how good he was in the World Cup. He's been showing it for Tottenham. Almost like the best testament to how good he is Tottenham with and without him. Without him, they look like there is no clue how to defend. With him, they seem much more solid, able to keep a clean sheet. Yes, he got a red card against City, but able to keep a clean sheet against City, for me, was the best defender of that game. Yes, they also had a different system where they had Dyer allowed them the license to push up further into midfield and press the first line there, which was a huge benefit to City, but huge benefit to Tottenham. But I think Christian Romero is my number 8 in this list. I think overall he's still young as well. He has a lot more room to grow and understand the discipline of when to dive in, when not to. And those are things that if he anticipates that and has a perfect balance, I think he's going to be a great centre back for years to come, and Tottenham really have a gem there. Number 7 and number 6. That's where I had the debate between these two young French centre backs. So I'm assuming you know who I'm talking about now, but they're both tall, athletic. They're fast. They're decent on the ball. Nothing special on the ball yet, but both decent on the ball. So one of them, people love to talk about him on the ball, but I don't think he's there. There's certain things that are almost eye testings where you can't really quantify them, but it's like I just don't see a confidence. I don't see a level of sophistication with him on the ball yet. Not saying that doesn't come. These two probably have the highest ceiling of any of these center backs on the list, but just not yet. They're both still young. So the two I'm talking about is Konate and Saliba. For me, Konate has been here for a season longer. He's proven it. He's been able to displace a great Premier League centre back in Joel Matip. For me, Ibrahima Konate is number 6, and number 7 is Saliba. And for me, Konate has the higher ceiling in terms of he's a little bit bigger, he's a little bit stronger, and looks like he has more defensive acumen in terms of on-ball tackling. I don't see this man get done. I don't see him get done in situations, in 1v1s, in contested duels. He's so solid. He reads and closes lanes and accesses so well. And I think he has so much potential to be able to grow. There are still mistakes in his game. He still can get found square sometimes. But I think that's something that, with playing alongside someone like Van Dijk, he's going to learn, he's going to adapt, and once they get a settled system, because you have to remember, a lot of the time he's playing on the right side of the centre back, almost all the time he's playing on the right side of the centre back, which means you have Trent as a right back, and no real right side of centre midfielder. That's difficult to navigate, and he still looks like a solid defender. That's a lot of credit to him, because you really have an empty hole on that side. And as a centre back, you really don't want to have to be defending 1v1 against wingers on the channels and in the fullback situations. But that's what he's having to do. And I am taxing Saliba a little bit on this, but the fact that he has Ben White, who's a great defensive right back, he was a centre back that's been converted into a right back, and he plays a lot further back than Trent, less prone to going forward, and also more solid defensively. That has to tax him, because that makes you so much more assured, so much more comfortable. Because when I have seen him out there, yes, he is able to recover with some pace, but he still seems uncomfortable in these situations. He's still young. It's his first season there. People are talking a lot of crazy stuff about him. I do think he has a high ceiling, but I don't know if that ceiling is going to be at Arsenal, and I don't know if that ceiling is going to be met, because there's a lot of factors to his game that still need developing, and it's still very raw. He's very raw centre-back still. That's why they don't compare yet to number 5, which is Lisandro Martinez. I want to put him higher. I really do. I love him. Yes, this might be coming from the bias of me being a United fan, but I think he's an elite, new generation centre-back. His ball-playing ability is second to none on this list, including Van Dijk, including Thiago Silva. This guy is the best ball-playing centre-back in the league. And his dribble, the way he takes the ball out of defense, the way he's able to interlink with the centre-back, his turning circle, his long passing ability, his line-breaking passes, all of that, his touch is always exceptional. And then on top of that, he's great at anticipating. His aerial duel percentage is so good considering his height. That's what everyone wanted to talk about. But he's disproved all of that. It's all fake. It's not true. He is an elite centre back. He's great aerially as well, because what he does is he picks his battles so well. He did get done in a few games early in the season, but that's also, you're new to the league. And he's young. That's what people forget about him. And having him in there, his ability to know when to contest, when to challenge, when to dive forward and contest that aerial ball, when to just little nudge, when to just push his man over, when to take a step back and let the man win the first ball and then he contests the second ball. Being on the man at the right time, stepping out of defense at the right time to challenge duels. Those things, and the fact that he's in my opinion, the best centre-back partnership in the league is so important, because those two have been able to link up and create a very solid defense that when they've played together, they don't lose. They don't even concede. And the types of goals they concede is very important to note. They don't concede bad defensive goals. It's a corner here, a crazy worldie there, a defensive mistake from a fullback. Those are different types of goals to concede than it is to, hey, we're making defensive errors and defensive mistakes where we're letting a man run behind us or we're letting a man run in front of us. We're letting a mismatch. That's not what's happening. I don't think we've seen defensive errors really from Lisandro Martinez in that sense. I think that's why, for me, he has to be considered the fifth best centre back in the league right now, and I think he has, as well, factoring in that potential, he has room to grow and get further up this list. That being said, number 4 was number 2 for the longest time, but I think he has to be taxed at this point. We've seen mistakes start to creep in, and also, do we know about the longevity in this centre back? So number 4, Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz has been great, and when he came into City, he really revolutionized that defense. They seem to have finally found that centre back, that guy that's going to come in, replace Vincent Kompany, going to be the leader, going to be the pivotal cornerstone for them moving forward. But it hasn't really panned out that way, because yes, he did it initially, and he's been immense in the games when he is on form, and that's why he has to bare minimum be on number 4 on this list. Realistically, probably should be higher, but bare minimum number 4 on this list. But there's been games where it's starting to show that there are mistakes in the game. He is on the slow side, which means you have to have a fullback that has recovery pace next to him. That's a problem, because Walker getting up there in age, and the fact that now they want to transition Enrico Lewis, they're playing Ake as a left back. Now you're starting to lose that recovery pace. So now he's going to start to get exposed a lot more in these battles on the channel, where City do get exposed on the channels, having to defend 1v1 in that situation. Ruben Diaz will get done. You saw it last year in the Champions League against Madrid. Those are not the places where he's comfortable playing. And that's why I think, for me, Ruben Diaz is someone that City should definitely try and accommodate and bring in another defender with recovery pace. But if not, what do you do then? Do you just leave that glaring weakness in his game and something that every team can expose? I wouldn't do that. So that's where I don't think you can put him higher up the list compared to the other centre backs on this. As well as the pure defensive intelligence and understanding of the game, I don't think he's on the level of the 3 above him. As well as the fact that the 3 are serial winners at this point. So number 3 for me, I did have a debate with him and number 2, but after watching number 2 more and more, it's just number 2 he's an icon. He's a legend of the game, and he has one of the greatest footballing defensive brains I've ever seen. But number 3 for me is Varane. Varane, serial winner. He does everything in the game well. He does look awkward sometimes on the ball. How many times do you see him makes mistakes on the ball? How many times do you see him, he might look awkward, but he makes the pass. He's able to do it on both feet. He has incredible recovery pace. So not only does he not need a recovery defender next to him, he's able to push up on the halfway line. He's able to be involved in a possession-style based game. He's also able to play in a low-block kind of game where you need to play transitionally, because he's very strong aerially. He reads the game extremely well. He doesn't get done in 1v1 challenges. He's able to block shots. He has everything in his game. And that's why this guy's been a world-class centre-back for 10 years. People love to call out certain certain errors or mistakes that he's made over the last few seasons. But you're talking about someone who's playing on the world stage week in, week out for over a decade. Of course there are going to be mistakes that have been made. There are mistakes players like Ramos, Rio Ferdinand, Vidic have made. They've all made mistakes. They've all had big games where they've made an error, and hey, then they've led to a goal, and it's a shambles. Oh, it's a big deal. But they're elite centre backs. It's going to happen. You're playing the biggest game against the best players. There's going to be bad games. You're playing in such a difficult position to play, where everything is a mental side. Everything is a reading of the game, understanding of space. How do you close down space when there isn't even a man there? When to challenge a man, when not to, especially nowadays, the way the game's gone is where there aren't even clear strikers. It's not like you're playing a 4-4-2 where there's 2 strikers, 1 striker standing on each centre back, and hey, let's have a 1v1. That's not what's happening. You have sometimes no striker playing against you, and you still have to have the understanding of space and when to track a runner, when not to track a runner, when to just focus on the space and closing down the danger areas. Those are things that he's done so well. And once you gave him the right partner in Martinez, you've been able to see how they've been able to excel together, and they offer that perfect balance. And that's why I think you can't put him lower down this list. This is a guy that has all the perfect characteristics to be an elite center back for another couple of years. Maybe if he loses his pace, maybe you start to lower him down this list. But until that happens, this guy is there. This guy is world class, and he's proven it time and time again. And I think even in the World Cup, in every stage of his career, he's been able to prove that he is essential to his team's ability to win. He is an elite center back. Number 2 for me, his footballing brain is insane. He doesn't have the athleticism and the pace, and that's why he can't be number 1. But as an all-time, long-term thing, for me, he is number 1 on this list in terms of overall ability for over an expanded period of a career. But for me, his footballing IQ, his understanding of the game, his reading, the way he's so composed on the ball, his leadership. Thiago Silva is number 2 in this list for me. He's an amazing centre back. Watching him play, I watched him live, and this guy, he doesn't have any pace left in him. But what he does have is a footballing brain. He sees. You're watching him, and he's seeing 3 steps ahead. He knows what the next 3 attacking moves are going to be, and he adjusts to be able to accommodate for it. And he does it flawlessly, and he does it seamlessly, where he's always in the right place at the right time. He's able to anticipate the balls that they're going to make. He's able to anticipate when to tackle, when to push up, when to drop back, how to get his other players in the right positions. He's immense. He's elite, and he's able to create as well going forward. He's so composed on the ball. He's able to play it short. He's able to play it long. Always seems to pick the right pass. For me, Thiago Silva is number 2. I would love to talk way more about Thiago Silva, but I feel like this video is getting a little bit long for just a top 10 list by myself. But number 1, he's the kingpin. He's still the king of center backs in the league. People are trying to put him down, further down. People are trying to say that, oh, he's lost form. Yeah, because you're comparing him to someone that was able to... We were genuinely talking about a center back beating the GOAT for a Ballon d'Or. That's the level he was at. After one season, we were comparing. Let's compare him to Vidic. Let's compare him to Rio. Let's compare him to Terry, even though Terry for me is not in that bracket. But whatever, we can ignore that. That's the kind of level that he was at. Virgil van Dijk, just so we know who we're talking about here. Virgil van Dijk is still the best centre back in the world. He is still unrivaled, unparalleled right now. There is no team in the world that is not made better by Van Dijk. He has the pace. Yes, he's lost a little bit of it. He's so composed on the ball. Still the best physical centre back in the league. He's great in 1v1 duels. He anticipates the game so well. He's able to interlink with his centre backs, take pressure off his full-backs and his centre back partner. There's so many good parts to his game. There's so many elements of his game that's perfect. Like, you can analyze and talk about every single aspect of his game and compare him to any other player. He will probably be better than them. You want to talk about his on-ball ability? Probably the best in the league, maybe second. You want to talk about 1v1 ability? Probably the best in the league, if not second. Pace, he has it. Size, aerial duels, goal-scoring ability, his presence in the box, leadership, his short-range game, his composure. All of these things are there. He is the perfectly created centre-back. And if he got to that level early on in his career, we might be talking about him in an all-time debate. I don't think he can be put there. It's too short term. He did it for 4 or 5 years, and you are going to see it tailor off a little bit. And that's why probably in 2 years' time, 3 years' time, we're going to have a new kingpin. It's not going to be Van Dijk. It's not going to be Thiago Silva. Probably won't be Varane or Ruben Diaz at that point. That's where players like Konate and Saliba and Martinez will all start to come into play, because they're starting to creep towards their peaks and their prime years. But for now, this guy is still king of centre-backs in the Premier League. And he is still so missed by his team. And it's a huge difference when he's there, when he's not. We thought Liverpool were playing bad this season, even when he was there. But without him, they just conceded 3 to Wolves. That's embarrassing. Wolves can't score. They've scored something like, 20% of their goals this season against Liverpool? It's crazy. This is the best centre-back in the league. And without him, Liverpool cannot play without him. I didn't put him as my most important player for Liverpool, but now looking back at it, it might be him as the most important player. Because without him, there's just so many chances. And then who I did list as the most important being Alisson, he's getting so exposed. And yes, as much as the goalkeeper can be great and elite and all that, if you're just conceding 12 big chances a game, you're going to concede a lot of goals. And that's why needing Van Dijk in that team, his leadership, his composure in the back line is so essential for Liverpool and their rebuild going forward. And him being able to have Konate learn off of him, that's going to be important. The dressing room factor as well. So that's my top 10 list. Please comment below if you disagree with anyone on my list. Are there any of the honorable mentions you would have put into that top 10 instead? Would you rearrange the order? Is Ruben Diaz still your number 2? Is Saliba your up there, further up? Did I underestimate him? Am I just giving him a tax because he has Ben White next to him? Is Konate further up? Please let me know. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, and subscribe. This has been another episode of Casual Fanatic. See you guys very soon. Bye bye.